This Week in Gaming with Naomi Kyle.
Hello friends, I'm Naomi Kyle and welcome back to This Week in Gaming. This week we're catching up on the latest review bombing run, release window rumors for some big games, new games for iOS, our predictions for tomorrow's Nintendo Direct, and details for the new software update for the PS5. We've got all of this week's gaming news, so let's get started. Since its announcement last week at the June 2024 Xbox Showcase, Gears of War E-Day has been on everyone's mind. For those of us who might have missed it, Gears of War E-Day is an origin story that recounts the emergence of the Locust Horde, otherwise known as E-Day. In this prequel to the first game, we follow a young Marcus Phoenix and Dom Santiago as they confront this new threat. The news of a fresh Gears title is very welcomed, and the trailer was beautiful. But I felt something was missing. Like, how about a release window? I'm glad Gears of War has returned, but when can we expect to get back to cutting down Locust? Well, according to Tom Warren at The Verge, he heard from his sources a few months back that Microsoft was targeting a 2025 release date for Gears of War E-Day. If Tom's sources are to be believed, this could put Gears E-Day to release ahead of the other big Xbox title, Fable, which is set to release in Q4 of 2025. With these two looking to release in 2025 alongside Doom: The Dark Ages and GTA 6, 2025 is already looking to be a good year to be a gamer. Anytime a developer makes a change to a game that the community doesn't like, the game will likely get review bombed on Metacritic or Steam. It's not great, but it is all gamers have once they've passed the point of returning a game. This method, though sloppy, has worked pretty well for gamers in the past. As I'm sure many of our listeners are aware, this method worked exceedingly well when forcing Helldivers 2 developer Arrowhead Studios to reverse their decision to make players sign in with a PSN account before playing Helldivers 2. The latest game to receive a healthy dose of review bombing is none other than Starfield. Starfield's developers Bethesda have made themselves a target by opening up official modding tools that they have decidedly put behind a paywall, which of course angered fans who commenced a review bombing campaign against Starfield on Steam. Ouch. So I guess the moral of the story here is, hell hath no fury like that of the gamer scorned. But still, it seems to have prompted the makers of the game to listen. Bethesda Game Studios chief Todd Howard responded to the backlash pretty quickly in an interview with Mr. Matty Plays, saying, quote, "We hear that feedback too. We definitely will adjust. We are going to take a look at that and how we deliver content like that, and whether we're changing pricing or breaking it up or what we should do there. So great feedback from the community." Not what I was expecting, but glad to hear they're listening. Apple devices are in for a scare after it was announced that Resident Evil 7 will be available to play on iOS and Mac on July 2nd. But that's not all. The Resident Evil 2 remake starring Leon and Claire is also planned to creep over to Apple devices. The port from Resident Evil 2 is still in development, however, and thus, as of yet, has no official release window. At launch, Resident Evil 7 will include the Not a Hero DLC starring Chris Redfield from Resident Evil 2. Available for purchase will be the Gold Edition that includes DLC like The End of Zoe, Volumes 1 and 2. If all this talk of Resident Evil has you in the mood for some horror on the go, look no further because Resident Evil 8 and Resident Evil 4 Remake are available right now for iOS and Mac on the App Store. A new update is coming to the PS5 exclusive Spider-Man 2 in just a few days. On June 18th, the update will address some community feedback and add stability improvements to the game. However, the more exciting part to this new update is, of course, the addition of 8 new suits. Each of these suits takes special inspiration from its designer, like the Metro suit designed by Kid Super, the Ginga suit designed by footballer Vinny Jr., the Fluoro suit designed by F1 driver Lando Norris, and the Motor Chic suit designed by singer and actress Rina Sawayama. But of these suits, 4 stand out as being fan favorites as they reference popular moments in the Spider-Man franchise, including Peter Parker's iconic Spidey suit from Into the Spider-Verse, Miles Morales' animated suit complete with the cell shading and all, Uptown Pride suit sporting a vibrant gold trim, and lastly the much-requested suit from Spider-Man's Last Stand tops the list with its timeless leather suit and gloves. The interactive horror drama Until Dawn gave gamers a taste of what it would be like to star in a horror movie of their very own. Back in January 2024, Sony Pictures announced it has plans to feature Until Dawn on the silver screen as a full-fledged horror movie of its own. All since then, there hasn't been any word on where Sony Pictures is in the production process until now. Thanks to an exclusive at Deadline, we now know the names of a handful of the actors who have been cast. Until Dawn will feature Ella Rubin of The Idea of You, Michael Cimino of Never Have I Ever, Ji Young Yoo of Expats, and Odessa Azion of Hellraiser. And this just in, at the time of this recording, Nintendo announced a 40-minute Nintendo Direct presentation will be taking place June 18th at 7 a.m. Pacific Time to round out this year's gaming summer showcases. It said that the presentation will be focusing on Switch games coming out later this year as opposed to 2025 releases. While this means we'll have to wait for confirmation of a new Switch console, the internet deemed Switch 2, there's still plenty of excitement about what's coming, and we'll go in depth with our exact expectations and hopes with our guest later on in the show, so please stay tuned. And of course, we'll have all the confirmed news for you in next week's episode, so for now, get your popcorn ready for what is set to be an exciting Nintendo Direct. The Discord app is now available for use directly via your PS5 console. For those who don't know, Discord is a free app that allows users to communicate with friends, game communities, and developers through voice, video, and text chat. The PS5, while innovative in many ways, has always struggled by making communicating with friends needlessly difficult. With Discord now fully integrated in the PS5's control center, you can link up with friends across all platforms, whether they are actively playing or just dropping you a line to say, "What's up?" Here's how you can get started. Link your Discord account to PlayStation by heading to User Settings and selecting the Connections tab. Once you're there, it will ask you to add accounts to your profile. Select the PlayStation icon, sign in with your PSN account, and that's it. You'll now be able to sign in to Discord directly by pressing the PlayStation button on your DualSense and navigating over to the GameBase icon. You'll notice in GameBase that there will now be a Discord icon. Select the icon, pick a server, and start chatting. This is a long overdue function for next-gen gaming, and I'm glad that PlayStation has decided to add this feature in their latest console update. Now all we need next is for Nintendo to add Discord functionality in their latest console, because I'm sorry to say the Nintendo Switch Online app just doesn't cut it. And now it's time to go over the video games releasing this week.
Games out this week.
On June 18th, hashtag Blood, spelled B-L-U-D, releases on PS4, PC, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch. Warhammer 40k Boltgun DLC, Forges of Corruption, burst onto the PS4, PS5, PC, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X and S. The Nintendo Switch will receive the DLC for Boltgun at a later date. The Elder Scrolls Online expansion Gold Road finally rolls out onto consoles, including PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X and S. Tradesman Deal to Dealer, Thalassa Edge of the Abyss, and Soul Mask all launch exclusively on PC. And Still Wakes the Deep creeps onto PS5, PC, Xbox Series X and S, and releases day one on Game Pass. Then June 20th, Asuka releases exclusively on PC. On June 21st, the long-awaited DLC for Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree premieres on PS4, PS5, PC, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X and S. And lastly, on the Epic Games Store, listeners can download Freshly Frosted for free, alongside 1,000 gold, 200 gems, and an Epic Games Store exclusive emote for the free-to-play title, Rumble Club.
Quest complete.
So that's the news this week. It's now time to chat with our guest, fellow Canadian gaming personality, Victor Lucas, who joins us to chat about our expectations for the upcoming Nintendo Direct and what we played at Summer Game Fest.
Select game mode. Multiplayer.
Victor, thanks for being back on the show with us today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I love this.
Yeah, we have a lot to talk about. We did run into each other at Summer Games Fest. And, I was looking at the news this week and I was like, oh, it's kind of a slow news week. I assume everyone just kind of pooped from having to do Summer Games Fest coverage. But we did get some news today about a Nintendo Direct happening literally tomorrow at the time of this recording. We don't have much news beyond that it's going to be at 7 a.m. Pacific time. And, Nintendo likes to keep everything close to their chest. Is there anything that you expect to see there? There's things that we kind of have heard rumblings of, but nothing confirmed. So
I've heard there's lots I want to see. I've heard the rumors of a Zelda reveal, and that could mean a Wind Waker or Twilight Princess port, or maybe they're going to pack them together. I'm liking this initiative of bringing back GameCube games I just love the Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door experience. That was so much fun, and they were great games. And they only sold 20 million GameCubes. So not a lot of people were able to experience the best that console had to offer. So I'm all in on GameCube ports. I would love Metroid Prime 2. I think it would be great to get that before we get Metroid Prime 4. I would also love 3 from the Wii ported to the Switch. Those are excellent games. But yeah, I'd love to see Metroid Prime 4, or at least a new deep dive into it. My expectation for Prime 4 is that it will be a cross-generation title, and it will be enhanced on the Switch 2, much like what they did with Breath of the Wild. And I think that would be incredible. And a smart move on Nintendo's part, let people play it on the install base of the current Switch. That would be great. But I'd love to see what they've got up their sleeves for new Nintendo Switch Online offerings, like some classic stuff that's brought back. I would also love DLC for Tears of the Kingdom. I'd like to see if they've added, I know everybody's forgotten about that massive thing.
Oh, I'm still playing it.
It's so big. So it doesn't necessarily need DLC because it's so large, but there's so much of a, play field there for them to kind of throw in some new content, maybe a playable Zelda experience where you can be Zelda for a while, which would be pretty wild.
That would be fun.
Yeah. So, there's lots that they can do. I miss Star Fox. I think about the Star Fox experiences all the time. I love that space shooter kind of vibe. F-Zero is such a killer experience, and they did F-Zero 99 last year, and that was super fun. But I think it's kind of a wet your whistle kind of experience. Like a new F-Zero would be really rad. I expect we'll see something in the HD 2D department, and the Dragon Quest game was recently talked about again. I love those types of games as well, which kind of bridge generations with their art style. They're always so cool looking, and I think a Dragon Quest HD 2D experience would be great. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, though, and I think it's going to be a cool kind of capper. They're not talking about 2025. I think they're leaving the door open for what Switch 2 is going to be. So, I think they're going to go out with a bang. This has been an amazing console generation for the Switch.
It really has been. Well, you definitely came prepared with some options of what we hope to see. But yeah, this is the last of the summer showcases. It's kind of wrapping up what we saw at Summer Games Fest. But yeah, it looks like it's going to be a lot of the stuff that's headed to their hybrid game console in the later half of the year. And like you mentioned, Metroid Prime 4, we haven't heard much of, and nothing about the new console, the new rumored Switch 2 that they're talking about. We do know that Call of Duty coming to Switch was mentioned, and if there's any announce around that. But yeah, all the ones you mentioned, I would love a Tears of the Kingdom DLC of anything. Still playing that game, like I mentioned. So
even Super Mario Wonder DLC would be really rad. Those were 2 incredible games last year. And it's interesting, you talk about Call of Duty on Switch. A lot of these big third-party AAA titles we don't really ever talk about or reference with respect to the Nintendo Switch because it doesn't have the horsepower of the other guys. And a lot of companies, didn't jump into that generation. I don't think they will do that again. I think we're going to see every game that comes out for PlayStation and Xbox on Nintendo Switch 2. I think the Switch 2 is going to be a very different machine for Nintendo because of the success of the Switch 1. I don't think anybody is going to sit out. There will never be a question.
Yeah. Like day one, I'm buying the Switch 2. I love the Switch so much. So it's all really exciting stuff. I'm excited to see what they announce. Of course, we'll have more on our show next week, because now we have to wait a whole week till we can talk about it, which is a little bit of a bummer.
Life moves pretty fast.
It does move so fast.
That's what Ferris Bueller said, right?
Yeah. We did touch a bit on Summer Game Fest. We ran into each other between appointments. Everyone was kind of going.
Yeah, it was great to see you.
Yeah, it was great to see you too in person. And I had been going back and forth all day, and I'm sure you had. What were some of your highlights, some of the games you got to see that you can talk about?
Well, Astro Bot was one of them from PlayStation. I'm just so happy that they're honoring this little character that they created kind of like to demo hardware that they have made, whether it's their VR game or the pack-in Astro Bot experience that came with all the PlayStation 5s. This franchise is just so adept at showing you what the hardware that Sony makes can do. And it's so profound to pick up a DualSense and have these mechanics and this feedback, register in the controller itself, and it just connects you to the character in such a really wonderful way. And of course, there's the nostalgic kind of gloss as well, with all of these interesting tips of the hat to lots of cool PlayStation characters. And it's family friendly, which is really cool. Like, Sony has become renowned for its narrative-based action-adventure games, which skew a little bit older. And they've got a rich history of games that appeal to everybody. So I think it's really cool that they're making this game. And it's going to be super accessible and super fun. I'll be shocked if it's not one of the best games of 2024. I really had a great time with that. I was very surprised to find out about Dragon Age: The Veilguard coming out this year. I did,
Yeah.
I had an appointment on the books. I was going to see something on Dragon Age. I'm like, oh man, I can't wait. Fully expecting we had till 2025 or 2026 until this thing was going to come out. And that's like, nope, this year, and the trailer wasn't amazing in the Xbox showcase that we saw, but I got a hands-on demo, and it's really deep, and it's really thought out, and it's, rich with character and lots of choices. The demo person was asking the audience which way we should go. And there's just lots of, in typical BioWare fashion, there's lots of different directions that we can go in with that experience. So I am super psyched about that. I didn't get hands-on time with Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, but I'm the world's biggest Indiana Jones fan. I cannot freaking wait to get lost in it. I know it's a little weird for people for it to not be just like a straight carbon copy of Nathan Drake or Tomb Raider. It's very interesting that Machine Games went with this first-person thing. But Troy Baker is perfectly cast as a Harrison Ford sound-alike, and all of the cut sequences, they're making a huge emphasis on showing us these movie bits that really feel like we're getting like an extended Indiana Jones film experience as well. I just have a lot of faith in it. I think it's going to be tremendously fun and a lot of fan service for people like myself who have been begging Lucasfilm and Disney and all the stakeholders involved. And I know Todd Howard. I've known him forever and ever. And we did the making of Fallout 3 back in the day, and he was proud to show me that he had the idol from Raiders of the Lost Ark in his office. And we talked about our mutual love affair with the Indiana Jones property. So I know that this is a true passion project for him to supervise. And so I'm super excited about that. And the new I'm equally a fan of Batman, so the Batman VR experience is going to be really cool. But the other game that I played was Star Wars Outlaws, and that was the last thing that I played before I left Los Angeles. And it is the game that I'm most excited about for 2024. And Massive isn't going to let us down. It is so rich with, divergent paths and experiences. The thing that really stuck out for me was the density of the different environments that we walk around in. All these aliens just walking around, and you really feel like you're on a set of the movies. You feel like you're there, living and breathing with these characters. They're so well defined and realized. And was just fun. It was just really fun to be Kay Vess and to solve the puzzles and blast the stormtroopers and run for your life when the odds are overwhelming, just like Han Solo. I think it's going to be great. I'm
jealous you got to play that one. I got to see what they showed at the Ubisoft presentation. And again, just like you said, it just feels like, from what I saw, again, I didn't get to play it, but it's a lived-in world, and I think Ubisoft always crushes in that department. They've done it for so many years with Assassin's Creed, that to do something like this for such a big franchise, so exciting to see the game really fleshed out. And it was one of the big announces that I was like, oh, if there's anything about that's coming out soon, like, I'm all about it. Let's play it. It's coming this summer. I cannot believe it. I can't believe imminent. How soon it's coming. Yeah. That's another one, because we're getting so used to these games taking forever and ever. But I think the industry is getting better at not revealing this stuff too soon. All of the stuff that the Xbox Showcase showed off is between now and likely the end of 2025. Some probably will slip, like Perfect Dark, which looks incredible. I don't know for sure that it will hit in 2025, but my God, that looked incredible too. The thing that I feel about the ideas, even around Star Wars at this point, because I think the Disney Plus shows have been a little bit polarizing.
Fans don't love every move that Disney has made. But the thing with Star Wars Outlaws, it feels like a movie. It feels like a big budget film. And the shows don't necessarily feel like that. They feel more contained. There isn't, millions of extras in the background. But playing through Outlaws, it was like, wow, this is like a theatrical experience because the budgets are different, right? They can replicate the stormtroopers and make them feel like you're swarmed by lots of different characters and stuff. And the shows just can't do that every week. So I do think about the relevancy of these classic IP that have been around forever. Are people still psyched about Indiana Jones? Are people still psyched about Perfect Dark and Joanna Dark? Do people even, remember? I do. I was there when the first one came out and reviewed it, but I don't know if every person is there. So it's up to these companies to not just make a really fun game that honors the nostalgic kind of drip feed that we all want, but also reestablishes these characters as relevant and properties as relevant for modern players and really accessible, especially with the budgets that these things look like they have. They're just enormous projects.
Huge projects, lots of runway. And I agree with you, like doing justice to the IP, but also innovating and hopefully introducing it to a new audience so it does expand and doesn't just rely heavily on the people who grew up with it or, have known the games or the movies for years.
I have a small one that I played that nobody, I think, is talking about right now, which I thought was really cool.
If you can mention it really quick, let's hear it.
It's super quick. It's called Parcel Core. It's made by an Irish.
One. I got to play that one.
Did you play it?
I did.
So cool, right? Yeah, it's like a jet grind radio meets Tony Hawk, meets Crazy Taxi, where you're just delivering packages and doing stunts and all kinds of crazy characters, and it has like Sega Dreamcast visuals. I can't wait for that game. That
one turned out really good, and it's like from a small studio out of Ireland, Belfast. So definitely, guys, check that one out. And all the games that we mentioned here today. Victor, you always have such great taste in games, and you always know how to perfectly eloquently speak about them. Thank you as always for being on my show, and I hope you'll come back. We'll see you soon.
Oh yeah, anytime. Thank you.
Victor Lucas is the creator and host of The Electric Playground. You can follow him on Twitter at Victor_Lucas.
Flawless victory! Continue!
And that's This Week in Gaming. I'm your host, Naomi Kyle, and I had such a great time bringing you all the latest in games. You better know it. Your listen makes such a massive difference. Don't forget to let me know what you're playing and what you think about these stories by tagging me at Naomi Kyle on social. From all of us here at This Week in Gaming, we wish you a gaming-filled week, and we'll see you again same time, same place. Talk to you later.
This Week in Gaming is an iHeartRadio Canada podcast. Subscribe to this podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts. Download the iHeartRadio app for more podcasts just like these.